Hello, I'm Tara Ruckman.
And I'm Stephanie Howe, and we are Control the Chaos EDU. Are you burnout? Are you feeling frustrated or overwhelmed?
Or maybe it's the opposite and you're a go-getter and want to level up. Then it's time to dive in with real talk and solution-focused conversations.
Hello, and welcome to today's Control the Chaos conversation. We're here live at ISTE.
Yay! So excited to be here.
It is so exciting. How has your ISTE been, Tim?
Well, it's been a whirlwind, like ISTE always is, but it's been really fun. I mean, like one of the nice things is like I ended school on Friday and I hopped on a plane and then I'm here, and it's really reinvigorating. So it's like it's really nice. You get to learn a lot, you get to connect with people, and it's always a lot of fun. So like, it's a whirlwind. You don't really process everything really quickly, but it's kind of amazing.
So instead of going downhill after school, you went climbing up the mountain
That
right
is correct.
away.
Yeah, like right into it. But it's a nice way to actually end the year because it's like, you get to kind of just immediately refresh because it's like you're feeling a little burnout by the time you hit that last day, and it's like meeting all the people and connecting and like so many people, especially this year because it's like I've known people virtually for like 2 or 3 years that I've never met. So it's such an odd experience, right? Because you're meeting people that you feel like you know, but you've actually never met them.
Yeah, and there's a couple people where I'm like, I think I know them. Looking at their like badge, we need to put Twitter handles in our Twitter profile pictures, like somewhere.
That is a smart idea.
So then I can be like, oh, that is you, and I don't look like an idiot to figure it out. But yeah, it's been great. So today we are with Tim, and I met Tim in real life this week. It was right after the Zach King session, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And one thing that kind of, as I was listening to Tim speak, I think it was Zach maybe or someone said that you had a student here that was filming. And I was kind of a little like, oh my God, like man. And that's what we're going to be kind of talking about today is that authentic experience for these kids. So you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and then
sure.
How did that come about?
So I've been teaching high school art and media for 25 years in New York. And one of the things I've done is really, I don't really have a set curriculum. One of the things I really like to work with the students and cater the curriculum to them and what their interests are. So it's really fun. It's really nice. Media is a landscape that, a lot of parents are a little bit afraid, like, of, like the arts seems scary. Sometimes people are afraid of jobs. And then you realize that like, most of my students get really fantastic jobs that they love. So like having a chance to have a student like, who's out there working, it's always really nice. So it's like, it's kind of amazing being able to connect with a former student who's like doing what I taught him, you know what I mean? Like here, and then, filming me, it's like very meta at some point, but yeah, really interesting. So yeah, so super cool. I feel proud as a teacher being able to, to see a professional who also I talked to him afterwards and it's like he has a documentary film coming out. So
that's awesome.
Super cool.
Well, we'll be looking for that for sure.
Yeah.
Because are you like credited in any way for that? I feel like
nice, yeah.
you were kind of starting that passion or part of that that passion, right?
Yeah, that's what it really is about, especially, teaching the arts, it's all about passion. So it's like, teaching, we're all here because we're passionate about teaching. So it's nice in my discipline that like, you really get to focus on passion and help kids ignite their passion, like find what it is specifically. And even if they're not going to necessarily make this part of their life forever, professionally, personally, it does like feed your soul. So it's like, the arts, the creative experience is something that like everyone could learn from and take something from.
Yeah, amazing. It's amazing. I love a good authentic experience story, especially my son is like such a hands-on learner and he is not a kid that loves school at all. But you put him in the arts, put him working with his hands, give him his passion, and he's like the hardest worker that you will ever find. So for me, just personally, I enjoy like getting to know people like you because we need more people in the world like that are so passionate about so many other things. And whether it's curriculum or not, we have to find those right things for each of our kids. And we never know, right?
Yeah, authenticity is such an important note. And it's something that you don't see mentioned enough, I think. just because, like, I think, being authentic as a person, as a teacher, like, the connections we make with students is probably the most important thing we do. So if you want to be a great teacher, you have to be a person that connects with students first, because it's like they need to have trust, and know that you really care about them. Once students know you care, then you could really do something amazing. And then the other thing is making sure the projects are authentic. So, like, I love that kind of project-based learning that, I like to kind of work with the community, and, like, I don't want our projects to get thrown out at the end of the year. You want to have stuff that goes out into the community and, like, influences, where we live, and, even sometimes the world, like, being able to connect and collaborate with other places is really good too for that authentic experience.
So what's the process? Where do you start?
Yeah.
And how do you end? And what mistakes did you make, or what successes did you have?
Well, you make a lot of mistakes. That's one
Yeah.
thing to, like, take on. Yeah. And you have to really embrace failure. And I think that's one of the things that I really stress, is that, like, the mindset is so important, of, like, understanding that failure is learning.
Yeah.
If you reflect from it and then, and learn. So, like, it's really important. So, like, one of the things that I like to do is work with the students and, like, what are your authentic interests? Because students are interested in all different kind of things. Like, I love ed tech and playing with technology, but not necessarily every student does. Sometimes cardboard is just as good. So, like, it's what are they interested in? You have, you kind of find their interest and you help them kind of, like, set fire to that passion. So, we do all different kinds of projects that way. So, like, one of the things we've been doing lately, like, I live on Long Island in New York, and it's an island. So, like, water is very important, and, like, keeping the water clean. So, we started, doing these kind of poster designs, and then we made a mural together to kind of, like, teach the rest of the school about what we're doing. And then we took those murals and then we put them out into the community and painted them on storm drains with the science classes, so that the community could learn about it. But it also, like, beautified the community and kind of, and then, like, I shared out all of those materials. So if teachers somewhere else wanted to do that, they could just use the resources we built. So, like, kind of, like, building and scaling up as you go is really helpful in these kind of projects.
And when you were doing that, what was your process to work with the community to be able to go out, and how did the community respond to that?
It's really nice. Working with the community, I think, is something that's really helpful as a teacher, because it's like, it also lets because when you work in a classroom, it's like, you have these kids, and, like, maybe their parents have an idea, and maybe a couple administrators, but a lot of people don't really know what you're doing. It's a little bit of, like, its own world, right? So, like, when you work with the community, like, you're sharing what you teach and why it's important. So, we reached out to, like, the local government to get approval, and I had the students all go through that approval process with us, because, I mean, that's a lesson in itself, kind of politics, and, like, kind of finding a way to work around it and then work with that. And then also community groups are really great. So, like, and some of the community groups actually formed around the projects we were doing, because it's like, well, this is really interesting. We'd like to do more of this. So that's great. And the community had a terrific response. So, like, that's one of the nice things, is that everyone kind of fell behind us. And it really, as a teacher, especially as an art teacher, you have to kind of advocate for your program, because the arts are one of those things that can get cut. So it's helpful in that respect. But it's also great because it's like, I get to drive by and see student artwork on my way to school. And it's like, that's awesome too. You know what I mean? It lives on.
Yeah. So, in this process, did you have any roadblocks that you could say that we could, like, if we have people that are going to go back and listen and say, this was a roadblock, maybe we could kind of prevent it from happening if we were going through it?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of roadblocks. And one of the things that, like, you just have to learn how to be persistent and find ways around it. So, like, you have to have the right mindset when you're dealing with these problems. Because, like, I do lots of different types of projects, and you hit lots of roadblocks. And, like actually, Zach King is one of the people that brought this up, because he was talking about, like, it's, he hears, like, how do we do things when he's planning projects, and then he gets lots of no's, and, like, you have to find ways of, like, well, why not, like, why can't we do this? And it's like finding creative solutions around it. As an artist and as an art teacher, one of the things I believe in is finding creative solutions. So it's like, I never really get stuck. You always find some way around it. Sometimes it takes longer than you think, but, like, if you persist and if it's for the right reason, I think, you could always work around it. And I think the other thing is that working with other teachers, so, like, collaboration is really, really helpful in kind of finding ways around this, because you could get, deterred, just emotionally, like, when you get hit a couple roadblocks, it's easy to kind of stop. And it's like, if you work with other teachers and, you kind of partner with the students in the project and with the students' parents and make sure that everyone understands, like, why we're doing this and that it's important, you could really find ways to persist.
Solution focused. That's what we're all about,
Yeah.
right?
And I just loved what Zach King said, that yes and mindset of just throw everything out there and
Right.
just say yes and yes and yes and keep
Absolutely.
growing on those ideas. Because I'm like, how many times do we tell kids no? Like,
Yeah.
no, but we can't do that because of this or that or that. And it's like, come up with those creative solutions.
Yeah.
So what type of reactions do your students have when they get these opportunities to collaborate with the community? Is their quality of work different, or are they excited, or
Yeah,
what are they responding?
It's so much more engaging because, like, when something is going to be painted on the wall in town, like, you want to make sure you do a good job, and it's like they understand that there's a legacy to it too, like, so like everyone's so much more invested in it, and like the learning is sort of magnified too. So it's like, the whole process becomes more important. And you also have to deal with some of the students, like that pressure. We'll get to them too. So one of the things that I found is, like, it's difficult to be creative under pressure. You know what I mean? Like, in sports, it's like, people get paid a lot to have that pressure and perform. But with creativity, like, if you feel that pressure, it might just cripple you. So helping students through that process is really helpful, and not to kind of get stopped by it. So, like, that's another thing that kind of like helping students navigate the way through kind of dealing with that pressure is really helpful. So yeah, you definitely see that, like, students are way more engaged. Everyone's a lot more excited, and there's a sense of fun and urgency about what you're doing. And it's like, as a teacher, like, that's all you could ever ask for, like, because you get 100% engagement and everyone's really interested. And when it's important, when you're making a mural for the school, you're making a mural for the town, or even if you're just doing a collaborative project where you're working with another school in another country, it's an authentic, meaningful experience. It's the kind of thing you remember.
So engagement goes up.
Yeah.
Behavior issues go down, I'm assuming, because
Yeah.
everybody's so engaged. Now you're including SEL because
Yeah.
you're talking about, navigating through some of those struggles and pressure. So there's a whole lot of stuff encompassed that's way outside the curriculum that you can't get anyplace else.
Yeah, and it's all pretty fluid. I think, like, social emotional learning is part of almost everything that I do.
Everything.
Yeah, and I'm glad. One of the weird, like, benefits that came from the pandemic is, like, a greater awareness of the importance of social emotional learning. But yeah, it's also a secret superpower of teachers. So, like, if you can engage students enough, you don't really deal with behavior that much. And it's like, I've never had to deal with behavior that much, which is like, like, it's so much easier as a teacher, because, like, that could be a lot of work, and, like, classroom management, is really tough, especially for new teachers. So it's like, I always really encourage, like, find ways to engage students, and you're going to deal with a lot less behavior issues. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. My background is applied behavior analysis. I'm a behavior coach, so that's huge for me, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, if you connect with the students, naturally some of the behavior is going to go down,
Right.
and we've seen a lot of struggle in that. So tips for behavior is always increase engagement.
Right.
It's not just about all those behavior modifications, but
absolutely
engage those students. So that's great to hear.
Yeah.
That's like in my wheelhouse. So you do art in tech, we do behavior in tech.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our gig.
That makes sense. Yeah. And well, every teacher really does behavior, whether they know they do or not. It helps to have awareness about it.
Yeah.
And all of, like, probably the digital citizenship skills that you're teaching your students in real life.
Right.
Like getting permission. Like, you can't just go paint on the snowboard.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be able to, but just teaching them the different protocols that they have to go through is really important.
Yeah, super. Yeah, another thing is, like, we'll use social media a lot, and, like, so you end up teaching some digital schools that, that way too. And then, like, I always try to, like, well, how can we make this bigger? That's one of the questions I ask as a teacher. So, like, we'll reach out to artists that are well-known street artists on social media, and, like, we're still at a point that you can interact with them, and, like, they'll give you feedback, and, like, they'll talk to the students, and, like, that gives a whole another level of authenticity when, like, we've had a couple artists critique student work and help us navigate the process. So, like, you're getting, this input from professionals. Like on the storm drain mural project I talked about, we worked with NASA, we worked with National Geographic and stuff like that. So you're able to get input from, real professionals, and that really helps too.
do you ever have any of those professionals come into the classroom, or is it mostly virtual since you have and through media since it's kind of a distance?
We're really lucky that we did have a number of professionals kind of come in. Like, when we were doing the storm drain, we had the EPA come in and talk to them about. So it's nice because I'm a big STEAM advocate. Like, as a just interested person, like my own curiosity is one of the things that I share with students. So it's like I may be an art teacher, but I'm interested in technology and science and math and all these other things. So like, yeah, when the EPA came in and talked to the students about like what they do and how they do it, and then I'll reach out to people. Like, I teach art and film, so we've had filmmakers come in and talk to the students, and like, big names, even like Judd Apatow has talked to the students, and so it's really cool because people will take time to talk to kids, and I think that it makes such a big difference getting that opportunity.
I think that's kind of sometimes an unknown place.
Yeah.
A lot of people have not tapped into those resources yet and have a lot of those people coming into the classroom. So that's great that you do that. But STEAM,
Yeah.
you're an author of this wonderful book that I was so excited to start reading. So tell us more about that STEAM power, right?
Yeah. So, I've been teaching digital technology and creativity for such a long time that like I really just wanted to share what I do, because it's like, as a teacher, you build all these great lessons, things that really work, and it's like, what do you do with that? Like, I see some teachers retire and they take all their files, they try to, like, I wanted to give out the stuff while I'm still working, and like I just shared 18 of my favorite projects with a whole range of technology. I mean, from cardboard to AR, VR, so like everything in between, because it's really more about the ideas than sometimes than the technology. So everything's very elastic, so it's available for different levels. I also took it as an opportunity because, like, I believe in STEAM, and I think that art and design is as important as all these other disciplines. But I wanted to make sure that like it was accurate to the professional field. So I talked to scientists from national laboratories and from NASA and from engineers, mathematicians. So I wanted to make sure professionals shared how, like, the creative side influenced them. And I found that, like, NASA hires artists to actually design. Like, they had to find a way to fold some of the rocket, the materials for rockets to actually unfold in space, and they hired artists to like study origami and figure out ways to do that. So it was really interesting, and I got to talk to these professionals and share interviews with them in the book. And then so I just took all of the things that I was doing that worked and shared it with people. So I meant it to be just like a gift to teachers that teach this type of thing.
Well, it certainly is a gift. I'm enjoying it so much.
That's cool.
What would be some of your top projects that your kids, if we were to ask your students, what are their top projects, what do you think that they would say?
It's different for everybody, but like I always like, as a teacher, when you buy all this material, you get all this cardboard with it. And cardboard is the most creative material ever because you can do anything with it, right? So like we do like oversized masks of like important people in history, and then we'll make puppets and then have a parade. So it could be low tech like that, or like high tech like AR VR is something that's really, really interesting. So like we're taking a lot of the classroom posters that we design and then making them augmented reality so that they could trigger into videos. So we took careers, and then we were able to kind of like, you could actually point your phone at the poster and then learn about the career and that kind of thing, and make an augmented reality art gallery. So you can see student work and like you see the process behind it. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's kind of fun. I keep that sense of play in all of these things that we do. And it also keeps it fun for you as a teacher too, which is important. You know what I mean? So it makes a big difference.
Yeah, so much. So I just want to be in your class, to be honest. I could go back to high school for just a little while so I could be in your class. That would be wonderful.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think that you build a connection with the students, and then like one of the nice things with social media is that you get to see where they go and what they do, and then they come back and teach younger students. So it's like you have this loop that happens where you have some of the students that go on actually come back and help teach the younger students and give them authentic, experiences of like, here's some advice about college and here's some advice about where the industry is going and stuff like that.
Have you had a lot of other teachers kind of fold into the things that you're doing and kind of rally around and collaborate and bring into theirs cross-curricular?
Yeah, one of the things is I love collaborating. So the teaching for me was like futile in the beginning because you're just like, your own little castle, and then like everything else is happening somewhere else. And like I wanted to reach out. So like I started collaborating with other teachers because I wanted to learn about what they're doing. And it's just more fun that way. And then when I started doing that globally, then you get to learn about another culture at the same time. And like it's really interesting and different perspectives. So like now I'm working as an ed tech coach in addition to being an art teacher. And like that's great because I get to co-teach classes and all these different subjects on all different levels. And it's kind of amazing because it's like, I like it as a learner because I'm learning about, today we're doing the Renaissance and tomorrow we're doing, Spanish classes. So it's like, you learn about all these things. And then I get to share some of like what works in terms of engaging students with that technology and creativity. So yeah, it's really fun. And it helps also, the vibe in the teacher's room. Like, when people understand what everyone's doing and that you appreciate each other, I think that makes a difference too.
Oh yeah, because you can go into any lunchroom across America probably at this point in time, and somebody's sitting at lunch talking about a problem that is going on in their school. So anything that can help that vibe, I would say, is definitely solution focused. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, because negativity is one of the worst things to deal with really in schools. If you can find a way to avoid that, that's always going to be a positive.
My first year in teaching, my mentor told me, if you go into the lunchroom and everybody's talking and it gets a little negative, just walk away and go out and eat lunch by yourself and don't get sucked in.
Yep, that's great advice. It's important because like avoiding negativity will keep you fresh as a teacher. Like if you kind of fall into it, I've seen great teachers just like, because I've been working for 25 years. So you see where people are and where they've become. And like some people kind of go in that direction and it's like, it's a little miserable. Like you don't want to live like that. Yeah.
And I think being at ISTE,
yeah,
there's so much positive people here. Like they're just
only positive people, really.
I haven't heard anyone complain. Maybe that they're exhausted. But that's about it. There's not.
Yeah.
So Tim, thank you so much for coming on. And how can our listeners connect with you?
You can always reach out. I'm at Tim Needles on every social media. So yeah, I'm always happy to collaborate and work with people and give advice or share if you have any questions. Yeah.
If you had one bit of advice for a new teacher that might be starting off, what would that one best Tim Needles piece of advice be?
Well, like I really believe in authenticity. So it's like, as a teacher, when I started, I played the part of a teacher, and that was just really a waste of time because, like it's not real. It doesn't connect. So like, I would say be yourself and like, find the ways, that you naturally connect with students and start there. So don't worry about, getting judged. Don't worry about how you're doing. Just it's about connections. If you connect with kids first, everything else will fall in place.
Yeah. I looked at her because they call us the rebel coaches in the district.
There you go.
You're along with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Break the rules.
Yeah. What helps? Yeah, it helps to kind of have that rebellious attitude.
All the time.
Failing is part of succeeding. Yeah.
Fail forward, right? As long as you're failing forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we probably use too many yes ands. Like, yes, I can do that. And then it's like, but there's no budget. Oh.
Find a way. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it so much. We can't wait to hopefully connect with you more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Well, we have next up, we have somebody else from McGraw-Hill that's working and leading right into that virtual reality piece that
Oh, cool. Nice.
We can continue the conversation.
Yeah, so we'll be continuing
Very cool.
our conversation, leading from yours into that. So we're excited. And until next time, control the chaos.
Thanks for listening to Control the Chaos EDU. Check out the description for show notes.
We look forward to connecting with you on social media. Subscribe to the weekly podcast so you never miss an episode. Control the chaos. Until next time.